Hey, we're live on Brunch with Brian, and today it's always formal dining room Friday. Today it's also football Friday because football season kicked off. So, what does that mean to you? Well, if you're a big football fan, it actually means that you're going to be spending some time watching football and football highlights and that. It actually changes your schedule. And I like to talk about schedule a lot. I think that if you have not written this down, if you don't automatically know when I say what's the success trinity, so when I say what's the success trinity, do you automatically know that it is goals, plans, and schedule? So that's where you start. You start with the goals, plans, and schedule. That creates your success trinity. Now, because of football, it will change. Some of our schedules will change. Now, if you're married to someone who loves football, that will also change your schedule. So maybe you were spending lovely Sunday evenings or Sunday afternoons, riding bikes or doing family activities. Now, football can be a family thing too. I used to watch football with my sons, and so that was actually a real bonding thing. And in fact, our sons live close. This was a dream for me that I really wanted to somehow keep my kids from moving away and having the grandkids in far-flung locations. So fortunately, both of our sons work with us, and so now they both found houses and bought houses in the last couple of years within about a couple miles of us here. So it's really nice. So they're going to come over and watch football. So how does football change your life? Well, I want you to look at your schedule. What was your normal Sunday? And then how does football, change your schedule during the week? Do you watch highlights? Now, some people are into that fantasy football. I've never really done that, but my son is in the fantasy football, so all of his friends were over at his house doing their draft on Friday and or whenever last week, and so that's a big time expenditure. Now, I knew we used to live in a neighborhood, and one of our neighbors was really into the fantasy football, not even just the pro, college fantasy, and so that was the whole weekend. Now that's the other factor. So are you into college football? Now I only care about the pros. I don't watch any college football, but that's because I went to a school where we didn't have a good team. I graduated from the University of Minnesota. We never had a very good team when I was there, and so I never really cared that much about college football. So now, but some people just, are so into college football. If you live in Alabama or some areas of the country, some states, some teams are really into the college game too, football. So they're in your whole weekend shot. So, I mean, this really can be, I like to talk about this because you really got to look at this. It could really change, and it can be stressful, especially for the people who are left behind when the football fans go crazy. Okay, so the people who aren't really into football, you got like two choices. If you've got close family members or friends who are really into football, either you try to, show some interest in football and watch a game. That may not work because you have such a diminished level of interest in it that it may annoy them because they're really fans, huge fans. So sometimes someone hanging around who's sort of a casual fan or doesn't care about the game, they'll start conversations right on third down or something. So football is funny and it gets people really going. And I absolutely admit that I grew up with the Vikings, and so between the ages of about 8 and 14, my big football team I was rooting for, went to the Super Bowl 4 times and lost every time. So I don't know. I mean, that's hard for someone like me who's super competitive and really a big football fan. How do you not be a big football fan when your team keeps going to the Super Bowl, when you were growing up? So now the Vikings, I don't know if they'll ever go back to the Super Bowl. They've broken my heart very, very many times. And I really want to not like football, and I really want to not be too into it. And so basically it's just the Vikings. So I'm a one-team football fan. I only watch pretty much the Vikings, except I do like the Arizona Cardinals. So now the games this week are on at the exact same time, and so I'll kind of watch them together. I don't care about the Cardinals as much. The Vikings, I'm going to watch every single second of the game. I really wish I didn't care that much because they're not that good. And you know, it's easy to be a great big fan when you're rooting for the Patriots, you know, and they keep winning the Super Bowl, or other teams. It's hard to be a fan when they don't win, you know, and when they never seem to be able to get there. And so I want you guys to think about football and where it fits in your life. And I know if you're a man, you probably have some interest, but maybe your household is just not interested in football at all. And so your schedule will your schedule will actually not change over the next few months. However, big football fans and big football families, your schedule really changes. Now, how does that impact your real estate? Obviously, a lot of real estate happens on the weekends, but if you live in, you know, an area, if you live in, you know, some of the cities where big college towns, Notre Dame, where they play, or like I said, there's a lot of places where people are really into their college football, and so you may actually have trouble getting appointments on Saturday sometimes. I want you to be conscious when you're making these appointments, because you need to not only adjust your schedule for football, you need to adjust for other people's schedules. And if you're trying to do something during a football game, you know, if it's the Buckeyes, you know, playing, you know, the Hoosiers, and you know, one of your teams is playing, you know, the chance, especially if it's a home game, the chances of being able to make appointments diminishes. So just be aware that a lot of people are going to be watching that football game. College almost more than pros, because people, if you have a really good college team, people are really devoted to that. So I had no intention to speak about football this much when I started talking about it, but I realized how much it really does impact our schedule, mainly our schedules, because one way or another, either you like football and you're going to start watching football now for the next 4 months or whatever, and that's going to change your schedule. So I want you to make adjustments, make smart adjustments to your schedule. And if you don't like football at all, you're going to have to still make smart adjustments to your schedule based on other people loving football. So it might be people in your same household. So what does Lynette do when we watch football? She just goes off and does her own thing. She likes to bring Willow shopping. So for people who do not do football, I want you to start thinking about what you're going to do with your time and how you're going to structure your schedule when other people who you used to spend time with on Saturday and Sunday are really into the football. So now, how does that change your schedule? Now look back at past years, because that's the best example. What do you do when everybody's watching a football game if you just don't like football? A good thing to do is real estate investing. You know, you could try to make phone calls. I would not make phone calls. It's too risky calling a bunch of sellers like right in the middle of a game, a really big game. Now, I'm not saying don't do it. You might be able to get them at home. You know, they're probably at home watching the game. So, but that's totally up to you. But I will tell you that you will get people who do not want to spend a lot of time talking to you if the game's on at that time. So you need to adjust your schedule if you are a football fan, or if you're not a football fan, you need to adjust for other football fans. And be conscious of when the games are on. I mean, even if you never follow football, know when your team plays. So I know that when the Cardinals play this weekend, and it's the opening game, so people are going to be really into it. Now, once it's like halfway through the season, and if your team stinks, frankly, you can. There's less devotion in the community. So, but if you have a well that year, I'm telling you, you're going to have trouble trying to get appointments on the weekends, especially if you have a big college team in your area and a pro team. So, and people get into that fantasy football, and I'm going to warn against that. I mean, if you're into the fantasy football, just be very aware of how that's affecting your schedule and how that affects the other people around you. You know, if you have your real estate schedule, I should be talking about this, is about 7 to 10 hours a week is what I'd like to see. And if football all of a sudden is, 4 hours on a Sunday game, and then maybe you watch college, so that's another maybe 8 hours on Saturday if you're really into college, watching all these college games. So there's a lot of time expenditure where you could have, should have been doing real estate investing. So I'm going to give you a warning, and especially if you're doing the fantasy stuff, because then it's during the week and it's really can be very time consuming and not make you a dime. Now, I love people to have hobbies. You should do what you love. And if you love fantasy football and it's like the highlight of your year and you have a lot of fun and it's a bonding thing with your friends, that's great. But just be aware of the people you're not bonding with. Be aware of how that's impacting other people's schedules, and make time for them. So if all of a sudden you used to hang around with your family on the weekends and now not so much, make sure you make time during the week where you say, let's all go out to eat on Tuesday. Let's make sure we still have our date night on Friday. Friday night now there's football. Now there's high school football. Oh my gosh, don't let me go there. Some people have kids who are in high school football, so that's another huge time-consuming thing with football. So this is my football rant, I guess, today. I did not intend to even talk about football until about 2 minutes before I threw this shirt on. So, but guys, consider this. It's an important thing to consider because of the sometimes dramatic impact on your schedule, and the way it impacts your schedule dramatically on the weekends, which is when you're doing your real estate. So football can actually be, conflict with your real estate success. So don't let that happen. Make sure you're still putting in your 7 to 10 hours of real estate. Make sure you've written your real estate schedule out, and smart adjustments. I always say, the greatest thing about a plan is making smart adjustments. So make smart adjustments with this football season for other people, where you're probably not going to go over and see somebody's house right in the middle of the big Buckeyes Hoosiers game or whatever it is. Okay, so I'm the Golden Gophers from Minnesota. You don't hear too much about them. What kind of a mascot is a gopher? Oh my gosh. All right, at least I'm a Viking and I love the Vikings, and I love that show Vikings is even great. So guys, think about football, think about how it impacts others, and make smart adjustments. So I'll make smart adjustments around football. That's our affirmation for today. And I know I've gone long. I know it's my football rant. I usually try to keep it under 10 minutes. All right, so I make smart adjustments around football. 1, 2, 3. I make smart adjustments around football. I make smart adjustments around football. I make smart adjustments around football. Yeah. Now for me, again, I'm just maybe a 1.5 team guy with the Vikings and the Cardinals, and I don't really follow college, so it's not a massive impact on my schedule, but for sure Sunday afternoon I'm going to be busy, and so and I'll have kids over. So that's the other thing. Football can be a real bonding thing. So I've kind of said how it can be a danger to your real estate schedule and a danger to your relationships with others, but it can be a bonding thing too. If the whole family's into it and everybody enjoys it, and you make a thing out of it, maybe a ritual out of it. Maybe mom always goes and makes special pizza, every Sunday and everybody watches it together. So that can be a thing too. So have a great Sunday this Sunday, and I hope your team wins if you're a big football fan. All right, so let's do our deep breathing. Nice deep breath in. Okay, that's great. Nice deep breath in. Big smile on your face. You always do this with me, right? Otherwise, it's embarrassing. Nice deep breath in. No, it's not embarrassing because I know it's good for me. And many times during the day, it's a relaxing, wonderful exercise ritual to do is your deep breathing. So have a great weekend. Let's try to go see some properties. Obviously, I always talk about that on Thursday and Friday. Get some appointments. Make some calls between 5 and 6 o'clock tonight. Be aware of when your local college football team and pro team are playing this weekend. Make smart adjustments on that. But have a fantastic weekend. And until I see you on Monday, what are you going to do? You're going to keep expecting success, getting awesome training, and taking action.